Why lounge singer stuff? What happened to the bebop boop ba bum bum lounge singer stuff? We used to do that kind of stuff all the time, and now we don't anymore. Give me a quick second to send a little note out here to the restream. We are live. Boom, boom, boom. So set that out there. Okay, that all appears to be working. Let's move this and go. Hi, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with me here on Podcast Pontifications, the live taping. My name is, in fact, Evo Terra. Thanks for joining me. If it's your first time watching, because it just came across your Facebook, your Periscope, well, Twitter, your YouTubes, or your LinkedIn, you said, who is this guy? Again, Evo Terra. I do this show called Podcast Pontifications where I talk about the future of podcasting and ways we can make podcasting better. Today, the topic of conversation is, can you survive podcasting's chaotic era? Provocative titles, Evo. What's up with that? Now, here's the deal. This is the live taping. This is not the podcast itself. This is the live video that goes with it. You get to see inside the studio as this whole thing transpires, if you will. So if you want to watch the live stream, that's awesome. You can totally do that, but you don't have to. Because at around 10 o'clock, not around 10 o'clock, at exactly 10 o'clock, if I get on the stick, today, the produced episode of audio will be available in all the podcasting platforms. The written article, I take the words I'm about to say and I rework them with these magic fingers of mine to make them read a whole lot better. That will be also published at 10 o'clock in the morning. And even better, if you go to If you go to podcastpontifications.com and you click the subscribe button at the very, very, very bottom, you will enter your email address and you will get a link to that produced audio file. You will get the completely written article all there for you, so you don't have to leave the comfort of your own inbox. If that's fun for you, whatever. But I can see Arlen's in there. Good morning, my friend Arlen. Hiya, Stephanie. And hi, Kevin. Nice to see you here as well. So thanks them and everybody else who's joined who hasn't sent a lovely comment in. That's perfectly fine. Right. Part of the reason I do this is to clean out the pipes before I go on to hopefully get the phlegm out. What was that commercial for Get the Lead Out? Oh, it wasn't a commercial. That was like every classic rock station when they had a Led Zeppelin moment. Usually at 4:20 in the afternoon, if memory serves, but I don't know. It's been a long time since I listened to classic rock radio stations. Okay, so let's make sure I've got all my ducks in order. I think that I do. Here is that. I can move that over there to the side, so that's nice and neat. And yeah, here we go. Hey, before I get started recording, I did want to make mention, I'm going to talk about a little bit of this during the program, but I mentioned it yesterday on the show as well. But check out the homepage of Podcast Pontifications. I didn't redo the entire website again. No thanks. Steve Young did a great job of that for me a year ago, whenever it was. But I've modified the Listen Everywhere bar that's on the top of the homepage to list some apps you may not be familiar with that, as working podcasters, you should all be familiar with. So I guess it's a tacit endorsement on my part for when I put these apps up there, but I have others to change out, and I plan on rotating them through on a pretty frequent basis, I think. But check that out, and if you wish, you play a little follow the leader here on that. I think it's incumbent upon us in the people like me in the podcasting space. I think it's incumbent upon people like me to make sure that you guys know what's happening out there and be good role models and stewards of the industry. And, well, as you're about to hear today, I have some questions about the current people who are stewarding the industry, and maybe we should move away from this. So anyhow, again, check out the homepage, Podcast Pontifications, the listen bar, see what I've done. I'm not done with that. There are still two you'll recognize, but I think soon that may not be the case. Yeah. More about that as it actually happens. So, right. Okay, so let's do the cold open as I am wont to do here. Let's move things around so that I get everything situated so nothing sits on top or needs to be. Okay. The cold open for Can You Survive Podcasting's Chaotic Era? By the way, that term chaotic era comes from an amazing book called The Three-Body Problem, which you should all be listening to because it's available for free. Macmillan is releasing it for free on their Stories from Among the Stars. That's their podcast feed, Stories from Among the Stars. Three Body Problem. Amazing book. I read it a few years ago and fell in love with it, and now I'm enjoying having it read to me by the professional narrator. Anyhow, that's where I got the term chaotic era from, but it has nothing to do with the book. Just stole a phrase. All right, cold open. Stop rambling, Evo. With technical problems and goofy business practices plaguing big podcast tech, the whole of podcasting is feeling more than growing pains. It's resembling an identity crisis. Your job? Survive it. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. My nose is itching. That does not mean a sneeze is coming, hopefully, because I hate it when that happens. I should be good. Ready? Let's do this thing. With technical problems and goofy business practices plaguing big podcast tech, the whole of podcasting is feeling more than growing pains. It's starting to resemble an identity crisis. Your job? Survive it. Hello and welcome to another Podcast Pontifications with me, Evo Terra. It's weird out there in the podosphere, and I'm not just talking about the pandemic or even the massive wave of consolidation that's happening amongst podcasting companies. Now, I think we're actually in a chaotic era of podcasting. Allow me to explain. Podcasting has gone through a series of mostly stable periods for the last 17 or 20 years, depending on how you count, where really nothing, I won't say nothing significant, I'll say nothing much happened. And of course, now, please, I understand. We certainly have had our inflection points. But those inflection points of podcasting have tended to center around advances made by big podcast tech. Mostly Apple, but by no means always Apple. Sometimes big publishers have done really big things, and even sometimes music streaming services, oddly enough. But with few exceptions, the tectonic shifts we've seen in podcasting over the last nearly, or has been 2 decades, have tended to better podcasting overall. Now, of course, yes, there were certainly localized areas of both disruption and destruction. I'm thinking the early days of podcasting when iTunes entered the market space and literally decimated, if not outright destroyed, indie podcast listening apps. That entire market collapsed almost overnight. I'm also thinking of when popular shows have been getting swallowed up by some of these big podcast companies, either locking them behind paywalls or just simply made exclusive. But overall, when these things happen, you might be disrupted, your world might be disruption, but overall, podcasting in total tended to benefit or at least stay mostly constant. But all that changed recently. Now the dominant forces of podcasting, I'm talking about specifically Apple and Spotify, seem to both be moving away from, if not actively being hostile toward, podcasting. It's been 4 months since Apple broke the entire podcasting ecosystem for themselves, and that means all of us. Apple right now seems to be running on a little more than momentum. And rather than fixing it or even offering up an our bad apology, they're staying silent. And if you watch the news, you're seeing their talent pool get siphoned away. Spotify, vis-a-vis Anchor, is laying bare its plans to completely disintermediate every part of podcasting that they, Spotify, do not own. That's a little chilling. We have social audio, or these drop-in audio platforms, starting with Clubhouse, but now spreading out with Plurk-like infection to Greenhouse or Firehouse or whatever the next house or room or side may look like or sound like. These platforms are seducing podcasters to create this much more ephemeral and much more lower quality content instead of their podcasts, or as they may think, in conjunction with their podcast, as some are doing. That's all weird. makes you ask the question, what's next? Which I get asked quite a lot. What's the future of podcasting? Well, as I try to answer it, it's always hard to answer that question. But with this much chaos that we're all swimming in right now, everybody who tells you what the future of podcasting is guessing more than they normally do. History can only get us so far when things are this weird. And I assure you, they are very weird right now. The question is really, what can you, the working podcaster, do about it? So you can ride this chaotic era all the way out until we reach stability or some semblance of stability, whatever that looks like, or for however long it lasts. Because there will be another side to this chaos. It won't always be this chaotic. I think there are 3 things that you should do. Number 1, realize that there is no one coming to save us. The big companies that did all those shifting previously for us, they're now looking inwards. They're trying to pull the best parts of podcasting out of podcasting and into their own closed orbit and ecosystem. So what we do as podcasters, whether you consider yourself an indie podcaster or not, it's on us, either collectively or individually, to take care of ourselves. We can't wait around to be rescued by some big tech, as has happened before. This is where we live today. Number 2, diversify your assets. Leaning into the first reality that there is no big company coming to save us, don't put your eggs in a single basket. Unless, of course, that is, you are extremely well compensated for putting your eggs in any given basket. Hey, as you know, I think there's no such thing as selling out, only the prospect of selling too cheaply. So, if that works for you, great. But I think you should really, if you're not getting fully compensated from these platforms, then it's up to you to kind of do the opposite of what they're doing, maybe. Like, first thing, stop spreading links and promoting apps that really only benefit these megacorps, that really helped usher in our chaotic area. Try out new things that look interesting. By all means, try out new things that look interesting to you, but don't get enamored by the quick, quote, results, end quote, that you might see there. Evaluate everything that you do for the long haul. Will I still be doing this 6 months, 6 years from now, and how will this help this thing I have created? Diversify. Play. Number 3, hold on for dear life, baby. Look, we have over 4 million podcasts out there right now. That's enough. That's enough diversity to survive an extinction level event or a near extinction level event. Because whatever happens during this chaos, it's not going to be good for a lot. But we can make it. We can make it through, and whatever comes on the other side, we can, I don't want to say rebuild, because that's the wrong way to think about it. But we can certainly survive and figure out what the future looks like after this chaos is over, or at least has shifted into a way to where it's a little more stable for us. Every little bit of the things you can do as an indie podcaster can help. Like, for example, if you get value out of the content I'm providing to you, you can show me your support by buying me a coffee. Yes, buymeacoffee.com/evoterra. Support all the things that people in podcasting are doing that make podcasting great. Make sure you're supporting only the companies and only the services and only the apps that really are there making podcasting great. And then, as I said before, hold on. Diversify your assets and realize no one's coming to get you. And we'll make it on the other side. That's it. I shall be back tomorrow with yet another podcast, Pontifications. Cheers. Stop recording the video. Stopped recording the audio. Boom. Going back to the chat room. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hi. I'm now no longer recording, so I can look at the chat room. And man, that nose tickle I had is going to town. I don't know what it is. Anyhow, Stephanie says, content creation is messy on so many levels. The chaos seems inevitable, almost necessary. Don't disagree with you. Yeah, chaos is a part of this space. It's part of being digital. There's always constant upheaval, and there always has been, right? The change is constant in the podcasting world. This just feels different. With those bedrock companies that really podcasting centers around, normally would say anchors around, but obviously, them kind of doing things wildly differently right now, it just feels really weird and messy. More messy than normal it would be. So that's what I think. If you're just now tuning in, you missed the live stream, but that's cool. Yes, you could back up and watch the 15-minute long live video if you wanted to, but I got a better idea for you. Go to podcastpontifications.com because checks the clock, 2 hours and 45 minutes, an edited audio version of this will be posted. I will have rewritten every single word that I just said to make a nice, compelling, readable by your eyeballs article for you. All that gets posted at podcastpontifications.com. It gets sent out on your whatever podcast app you're listening on. People who have subscribed to Podcast Pontifications in your inbox, it's a free email service, will get an email with a link to the audio file and that article so they can just enjoy the content where they happen to be during their workday. A lot of people subscribe to the email address as well as listen to the show in some podcast listening app. That's fine. Do whatever you want to do, whatever makes sense for you. It all works for me. But that is it. Happy Wednesday. Tomorrow I'll have another episode. And then, of course, as you know, break time because I don't do shows on Friday. But I've got one more idea for you for tomorrow. And then lots more things to do. So enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. I'm going to get this all edited and cleaned up so you can enjoy it in its final format. Yeah. For some resting place for them, but it doesn't matter. Now I'm rambling. It's time to end the show. So goodbye. Goodbye.